Now we'll get into the complex numbers, and the complex numbers are of this form, a plus bi, where a and b are going to be numbers, real numbers of some sort. And it comes in two parts. The a is the real part, b is the imaginary part. And the imaginary part is just the coefficient on the I. Now what we're going to do is we're going to perform operations to these complex numbers. We're going to add, subtract, and multiply these complex numbers. And when you do that, you treat the I just like you would any variable, like x or y, and so on. So that, you got to think about that when you're combining like terms and so on. The one difference when we're dealing with these complex numbers is if you ever end up with an I squared, that's always equal to -1. So you want to substitute -1 in for any I squareds you end up with. So, performing these operations, the first thing we're going to look at is adding and subtracting these complex numbers. So, in adding and subtracting, what you do is you just look for like terms. You're going to add the real parts together, and you're going to add the imaginary parts together, or subtract them as the case may be. So in this case, this is letter E on your examples. So the real parts are 4 and -4, and 4 plus -4 is 0. And the imaginary P parts are -3 and +3. So you're separating them, you're adding the real parts together and the imaginary parts together. And -3i plus 3i is 0i, which will result in just 0. Okay. If we look at all the addition ones in this one, if we jump down to G and add the real parts, 7 plus -3 is 4. And then the imaginary parts, -2 and 1. So -2i plus I is -1i, or just -i. So in our result, in our sum, the real part is 4, the imaginary part is -1. And we'll jump down here to J, the other addition piece. -3 plus 3 is 0. 9i plus 9i is 18i, so we're left with just 18i. The real part is 0. The imaginary part is 18. Then for subtraction, that's something we need to be a little bit careful with. The real parts, we're going to take 5 minus -2, which becomes 5 plus 2. So that is 7. And then we have -3i minus 4i, which is -7i. In that difference, the real part is 7, the imaginary part is -7. Performing the subtraction in H, 1 minus 3 is -2. 5i minus -2i becomes 5i plus 2i, which is +7i. And finally, in I, 8 minus 8 is 0. 6i minus -6i becomes 6i plus 6i, which is 12i. So 0 plus 12i just becomes 12i. That is adding and subtracting the complex numbers. In the next video, we're going to take a look at multiplying complex numbers.